Then we discover that after Jesus Christ has finished his 40 days and 40 nights of fasting, he began to set up a structure. He called the disciples one after the other, and then having called them, they were all together for some time. And after the church has grown, he selected some of them and named them and designated them apostles. That I'm adding to yesterday's lecture. We'll look at that very much today. And then Jesus trained the apostles and replicated himself in them. Having Jesus replicated himself in them, he departed. That was his completion. Jesus didn't go out of Israel to go and preach. He was just in Israel. But the impact of his work went from that place to Africa, to India, to Latin America, to China, across the whole globe. And that is achieved because of high impact leadership principles that Jesus displayed, which in the Church of God today, if any one of us missed that, that's the reason why ministers struggle and nothing happens in their church, in the area of growth. That's the reason why ministers can pastor the same people and the same number, year in, year out. But it's not God's will for that to happen. So our intention in this conference is for everybody to look at how Jesus did it. And we're looking at information that have been written about high impact leadership so that we too can do it. I want to say that before I go ahead in this morning, I want to correct a notion. There are some of us who always feel that if people of your color, or of your race, or of your background are not around where you are pastoring, then it will affect your growth. That's not it. Your race, your cultural background is not what God sent you to. He sent you to the whole world. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony unto all mankind. So your focus about church growth must not be, you mustn't limit yourself by this concept that if you are in a place where you don't have your color, how will they hear? It's not your color that determines salvation, or your country, or your place of origin or background and stuff like that. So we recognize, therefore, that we looked at leadership as a process of, engaging others to achieve a common goal. A leader is somebody who can engage other people who are under him, sell his ideas to them, they will buy his ideas, and then they all will work together for one goal. Not, you are working towards a goal, those under you are working in diverse ways. So if you have a situation whereby you are working towards a goal and others are working in diverse ways, there is a problem with your leadership. But then, of course, I told you there are some essential, there are three essential things that good leaders need to recognize. Number one, I said you must know who you are first. If you cannot define yourself, you don't know who you are, you don't know what called you, what God called you to do, you are confused about your calling, you will fail as a leader. If you don't know what your duty is, you cannot succeed as a leader. And that has to do with leadership in every industry. Either you're applying this to, banks, or you're applying this to conglomerates or commodity industry, any company a person is in, at whatever level of leadership you are, if you cannot know what you are doing, if you do not know what you are doing, you cannot tell people what they can do. Second thing, you must be able to engage other people. If you are a person who feels that you have to do everything yourself alone without engaging people, then you will fail. While when I go through with you by tomorrow, we will get to that level where you look at high impact leadership. One of the qualities of a high impact leader is that he learns so many things. A high impact leader must have aptitude to learning. We'll look at that very critically. So that at the beginning, he has to train his people in various areas that he needs for his vision to be fulfilled. And when people gestate to that height, he withdraws and allows them. So you must be able to engage people. If you are a leader who quarrel with people and fight with people, or your wife is a good fighter, she wrestles with flesh and blood and leave principalities and powers to enjoy themselves, then you will fail. Number 3, you must create enabling environments. And our caption like yesterday was Hebrews 13:7. Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. So we recognize that the way of life of a leader must be spot on. So that's why the Bible says you cannot ordain a young convert. You cannot ordain somebody who has been in church for years but refuse to grow. Are we together now? Because anybody you appoint as a leader must be a living example. We'll cover that today in more detail. And the Bible says further, consider the outcome of their way of life, number 1, and imitate their faith. So the faith and the way of life of a leader is very, very essential to those he's leading. If a leader, let me tell you this, if a leader is a person who talks too much all over the place, you will give birth to a church that does that. If a leader backbites, you will give birth to people who do that. Anything you are, that's what you see in your people. Because the spirit that works through you will work through those who follow you. And this is the reason why a leader must be completely a mature believer. However, today, there's a question that I was told that some people asked, and my lecture today will answer it. And one of the questions says that, what about in a church or an organization where you had some leaders you have appointed? Of course, before you appoint leaders, you must have seen that they are committed, they are loyal, they are faithful, and they are punctual in churches, in meetings. All right? But the fact is this, some people, the moment you ordain them or appoint them, you will discover that their loyalty, there's not loyalty first, their commitment begins to dwindle down. All right? And in the case of this question, the minister said that if somebody began to play truancy, and before you knew it, some other leaders joined in that attitude. How can I deal with that? I will give you a straight answer to that, but then I will teach you details that approach to enhancing that. Yesterday, there is something I told you. The love each individual Christian has for Jesus is what determines faithfulness, loyalty, commitment, and all. And the love we have for Jesus is based on our knowledge of him. Millions go to church, they sing, they pray, but they have no contact with the Lord, even not born again. And sometimes we have appointed some of them into eldership because I'm looking at, different levels of, different types of leadership. We have appointed them to the eldership, we have appointed them to roles in church, deaconship, even pastors, but they have not been saved. We appointed them because they had a form of qualities that in our human judgment we thought they are qualified. But salvation is a personal contact with Jesus. Pastor, come on, sit down here, please. It's a personal contact with Jesus. It is a personal encounter that human beings have with Jesus. While people can have traits that will look like they are saved, but salvation is different. Are we together? Secondly, we understand that there are some who are really saved, really committed, really loyal. They have enjoyed the joy of salvation and they burn very fast. And after some time, their commitment begins to dwindle down. That is backsliding state. They are backsliding. A backslider is not somebody who has fallen from grace. A backslider is somebody who is in the grace, but their love for God they're getting used to God. Let me have you understand this. Husband and wife, many marriages, the reason for problem as they grow older is because at the time that a man meets a woman, he haven't touched the woman, she hasn't touched the man and stuff, you have a burning desire. You know, this is the person I love and all stuff. But the moment they begin to live together, now many people struggle with the position of being used to one another, which is supposed to strengthen the love. But happens after some time, the same privilege of being used to one another, they begin to take one another for granted. Same thing happened to many members who are used to their pastor. At the beginning, they see the pastor in the place God put the pastor and all stuff like that. And after some time, they get used to the pastor, the place you are by, they will not be blessed any longer through that unction. But people who are outside will be getting blessed by that unction, and people who just come in newly, and those who are faithful enough to recognize that your familiarity with the anointed one among you must not be taken to contempt. That's why we read yesterday that you do not take the grace for granted. So, these are the things that cause that. But however, what can change attitude of people like that? Teach them about hell. Spend, if possible, 3 months teaching about judgment and hell in your church. When people really know, number one, that they can drop dead at any minute, medically established. As I'm talking, so I can drop dead. There is a minister who was preaching, his video went viral about 2 years ago. He's a Catholic priest, but preaching salvation, and he was teaching people about the salvation only in the name of Jesus Christ. And as he was teaching, he slumped and he died there. I think if I look at my WhatsApp, I will still find I can send to all of you. That Roman Catholic priest is born again. Born again and spirit-filled too. Preaching righteousness. Telling people about the judgment of God, paradise. He ended up his message by teaching about what paradise looks like. And as he was speaking, he just slumped. They thought it was a joke. They picked him up, he has gone to his maker to rejoin with Jesus Christ. You know something, therefore? When you have people who are lousy in the church, who are backsliding in the church, teach them about hell. The kingdom of God is not just blessing, blessing, blessing. What about if God refuses to bless? He is God. And God can refuse sometimes to bless. He does sometimes. When we were studying the people of Israel, Joshua, in one of the occasions, I think it's about Joshua 10 or so. No, after I think it's Joshua 12 or whatever. They were going to fight a war, and they asked the Lord. The Lord said, go. No, it is when Joshua, when the people of the prophet whose wife was raped, and, you know, the prophet took the wife and divided her member, this member, and sent to Israel. So when they had to go and fight with these Benjamites, you know, God said go. First day they went to the battle, 30-something of them was killed. But God told them to go. Second time they went, about I think 25,000 was slaughtered. But God told them to go. So people don't understand God. Many Christians don't understand God. To many Christians, God to them is the one who does blessing, blessing, blessing. It's not so. God is not so. So when that happened now, Joshua now sat down in tears before God. Like, God, what is happening? He didn't go to God and say that, but you told us to go and they killed us. Let me tell you something. For saints to die, it is a blessing to God. Your blessing is to give you money. For him, your blessing is for you to die. Because when he's saying die among us and go home, God won. That one is not remaining on earth again to be deceived by Lucifer. But God retains us on earth because he has assignment for us. And he wants us to finish the assignment. Are we together? So when you have a church that people are misbehaving like that, teach them about hell. And firmly, sternly, teach them about judgment and consequence of sin. Teach them about backsliding. And then replace them in their office. With younger ones or new ones, I'm not saying by children, but new members who are now loyal and committed, give their duties to others to do. If they return back, they will have to remain. You will not give them back the duty until another duty arises. That is effective leadership. Because the church cannot be held ransom by anybody because of their own like daishika attitude. However, so today we are going further from where we stopped yesterday. Remember, we stopped yesterday looking at I said that you must set goals for your church. Notes, number one, a life without a goal is an aimless life. A life without a purpose is an unfulfilled life. And a life without daily self-examination is a frustrated life. And then I gave you the key to success in leadership without stress. That is key to leadership without stress. Number one, you must set goals. Number two, you must define purpose. Number three, you must set framework to regularly evaluate yourselves. Can I say that I expect all of you to be writing? If you came here and you didn't write, you have come in vain. You know the apostle is blunt. The things I'm teaching you, if you implement it, you will not be going to stress in leadership. You will not be praying over what God has done. Are we together now? You won't pray for promotion in your office. And you will not pray that God should make you chairman or president or director. You will just be. These things don't come by prayer. Though we can prophesy them into being, but we cannot prophesy anything upon a person who is not equipped. I would get that God don't bless lazy people. No matter how much you prophesy about them, it will be a curse. So you must recognize that these things are necessary for those of you who work. All of you who are not ministers, you have offices, you work, and you are a leader somewhere. So make sure you understand that what I'm teaching you, it is not just spiritual, it's intellectual. But of course, we narrow it down to spiritual operations. So the three nuggets for high impact leadership. Number one, leadership involves developing behaviors and competence. And I'll talk much about that today, I promise you. So understand the fact that for you, as a male leader, you have a duty to develop the behavior of your people and competence. And that covers the question that the man asked. Because when I was told about the question by Pastor Fumi, the minister who said that somebody became like a daishika and then others joined the person. One leader started, dragging his feet, another two dragged the feet. Now the fact is that do we eliminate the one who is dragging his feet, and what do we do with the other one? And I told her that when we were studying high impact leadership in Cambridge, there is something that I reminded her. It is like when you meet a director, a company is having problem, and they are not producing, and then they headhunted you to go and be the director there, and they expected you to manage the company. Now you are inheriting an organization that had an inherent culture. All right? An inherent culture expressing attitude and the norms of how they do things. How do you revolutionize people who have an inherent culture, but the inherent culture and the norm that they follow is what is causing the detriment of their success? Don't miss any day. I will teach you how to handle it. One of it's a pity. And this is really much in church than organization outside there. We will talk about it. So, you understand that as a leader, you are involved in developing the behavior and competence of people. Okay, so you have a duty to make sure that when you appoint leaders or you have people under you, you change the behavior of those people to the kind of behavior that can fulfill common purpose. All right? But then you have to train them so that they can be competent. You don't give them a professional thing to do in the area of which they are not trained. I will get it now. I think I talked a bit about this. When we were going to do this conference, we have been had a problem with our sound engineering. So we were using, in our mixer, we were using a deck that is called Behringer. And all my sound engineers in the church, all our sound engineers are trained, homebrewed, okay? And they have done a lot of learning about this Behringer. But it has 32 inputs, okay? But we have more than, we have choir, they're expecting 200 of them eventually to sing on this pulpit. Over 100 on Saturday and all stuff like that. Then we need to change our deck to a deck that can take at least 60 inputs so that the voices of the choir, all instruments can come up. The drum alone uses 6 microphones, because each of the instruments will have a 5 microphone. Then we are having our sister church, Tabernacle choir. They came here to sing, and on Sunday, on the 1st, they are coming to join our choir to sing "And the Messiah," Hallelujah chorus. And they have their symphony choir. We have all this trombone, violin, viola. There are so many. So, and we cannot invite these people, and I'm hearing bad sound, and their effort cannot be showed for it. So we have to go and look for a mixer. I'm talking about competence, training, behavior, and competence. And so, I gave the project to a group. They went, they did research, and they came back. They brought an engineer. He gave them all the publications and stuff. So I announced, okay, let me have what he has written. When I looked at what he has written, I could, because I also trained as a sound engineer, and I'm qualified. I have certificate in it. So I looked at what they gave me, but with the mind of a sound engineer. They are members of the choir. All right? As for them, they want to hear. But as for me, what is behind it? So I discovered that company, the person who gave them, has done good. But to train us, he's charging £6,000. So I contacted the manufacturer. Contacted the manufacturer gave me all their latest machines. I permit all of you, when we have a break, to go up there as a practical to go and see what I'm talking about. So then the manufacturer told me that, but a new machine just came out. It's the best in the whole world. It can take up to 123 inputs, and you can add more to it to take 800 inputs. So I said, let me buy this one forever. I buy it. The whole of this church, we can be plugging everybody in the at least almost 1/3 of the church into, if we have to. Now, this is what happened. I have applied to buy an instrument that nobody knows about in the industry except some few. And we have just few days to learn it and to play, to use it. All right? So I had to talk to the manufacturers, ask them, do you have engineers who can run this? They said, no, this one is a new thing, and it's all computerized. However, they gave us the manual, and then they said we can get maybe on the YouTube, we might stumble across some training. So I began to do the research on it, and I found one of the senior managers in the US did a training manual introducing the interface. So now, I who have to now give it to my department, what should I do? I sat over it for 3 days, sleepless. I studied it as if I'm going to write exam for a degree. After PCCing it, then I sent it to all in my team. And I told them, now, I've been teaching you theories of sound in physics, because all those theories of sound waves and stuff are necessary to operate digital instrument. It will have costed us $6,000 to pay somebody who does not know about it, but who also will come to try and show us. Within 2 days, I ordered for it, they brought it. It came on just about 2 days before we started our program. So everybody with me who want to do this, in 3 days, I don't know how many hours they slept. Because when I'm on your matter, Jesus says in the book, the Bible says, Isaiah said, in Isaiah 62 verse 6, it says, let's look at it. Isaiah 62 verse 6. That is the keynote for you intercessors. I have set you watchmen over the walls of Jerusalem. Shall we read it again? Yes? And what? And give, who is that him? Who is that him? It's God. Until what? Not all of you are reading. Not all of you are reading. Let us read this scripture. You know why I said you should read it? You want church growth? That's all. That's all you need. You want God to bless you with many people? You can't be a lazy man and get it. That's what it says. I have posted you watchmen over the city of Jerusalem. You who call upon the Lord. Is he talking just to members? The one who call upon the Lord more is the minister. If I say you who call upon the Lord, what's the instruction? Give yourself no rest. Oh, I'm old. Who told you are old? Joshua at the age of 80. Caleb. That's when he went to take his territory. He asked for it, and he led the army and he took it. Oh, I'm busy. Which busy are you busy? You need to go and see Jesus, that he was busy so much that he slept in the boat, water filled the whole place. With water around him, he couldn't wake up. Give yourself no rest, and give God no rest. God don't bless laziness. It is impossible for him to do so. Even if you spend the whole of the year fasting and praying, he will not answer you. You can't fast what you should faith. Always remember. Neither can you faith what you should walk. So, you must develop behaviors of people. You have many people who come to church. Some are born in royal families, some are born in aristocratic families, some are born in the village. Some are born in a rough family where the father beat the mother to stupor. That's how they grew to know. They grow to know that you taught me, I hit you. And they are born again now. And you have others who respect everybody. You have people who just are saucy, disrespect anybody they disrespect. God brought them under you. If you cannot recognize that you have to change their behavior, you will suffer loss in the future. So a leader or leadership involves changing the behavior of people and training their competence. I can tell you that now we don't have anybody, the engineers who have been doing it before, they are the one doing, they are in the church, they are the one using that machine. I would get that, but I will not say that. I don't know about it. When I need to know about medicine, I sit down those who are medical experts and I ask them sensible questions. They tell me, I write it down. And then I go to Google and Google it, and I see more information. Hallelujah. I see more information. I'm going to be teaching you on budgeting. I'm going to be teaching you later on the reason why ministries suffer financially. Okay? And I'm going to teach you on how you can run a ministry without financial stress. You shouldn't have financial. If God sends you, he must allocate for you. Okay? You shouldn't. No minister should have financial stress. No Satan has power over the finance of church. God didn't create that devil. It is impossible. You cannot work with your head, you work with leg. So, it's as so. No devil, no spirit of power has anything to do with the finance of a church, but the shepherd in charge. I will get it now, and I will help us go through that in our second session. So, we recognize here that you must recognize your job involves behavioral development and competencies of people. Number two, leaders should develop their adaptive capacity. And that is about the first one I told you, There is something that, I've forgotten the name they call it now in hyper leadership. That is when you have when you have challenges that are contesting. I remember it as we go, and if you please remember, remind me. Where there are some problems, challenges that face an organization, and those challenges are good challenges. They are what gives birth to innovation. When you have such challenges, then the way to conquer it is that it will challenge your brain, it will challenge all what you do, it will challenge your approach and stuff like that. And then you start to think, and then you innovate. And that is where the area of frugal innovation is very necessary. Frugal innovation is an innovation where you look at what you have, you look at the need that face your people, and then you look at how you can meet the need without spending money. Okay? And then you make money without spending money. That is frugal innovation. Uber is one of them. Airbnb is one of them. They are frugal innovation. The person who started Airbnb, they are having conference in this area, and he felt, let us rent out one room. And he rented out one room for those who are conference people because they don't have hotel. All hotels are booked. And when they were going, himself and the other person thought that, if we can give this, why don't we start a business whereby we can supply rooms to those who are coming for conference? So they registered with the hotels and told them that, look, when you have people coming for conference and you don't have a room for them, we can do it. This is how Airbnb started. Now, it's the biggest hospitality industry in the world today. Very, very few years ago it started. That's frugal innovation. And these are the things that, will face the church, and this is the way the church should respond, or anybody in an industry should look at challenges on high impact leadership. So on that second fact of high impact leadership, you will develop adaptive capacity. Adaptive capacity means any situation that happens in your church, you must have ability to adapt, including rebellion. I will together now. And if you have adaptive capacity, you'll be able to handle every situation without affecting the church itself. That's why I told ministers that there are some ministers, when people rebel under them and then they take some members away, they get so angry that they go to the pulpit and they are cursing the people. You only bring yourself under curse because you have possessed the people who do not belong to you. They belong to God. You are just an undertaker. And you have possessed it. And you feel that that is all your life. That's not your life. You have been existing and living before church came. Are you with me now? And it's not the number of people you have that will maintain your finance. No. God can maintain the finance of a church by 3 people. And you may have 10,000 members churches. All right? All the 10,000 people, only 2 of them is successful, others are beggars. And God made it so. So that you will know that it's by your large army. Read Gideon. So when God sees that, you have this issue of possession, then, those who Satan strike and those who are, who go into rebellion, go to rebellion. But if you have adaptive capacity, when people rebel, you will handle it. It's a small fire. You will kill it where it is so that it does not spread. When you bring it to pulpit, people who didn't know about it will know about it. And you will give the devil recognition, and Satan will destroy the whole church. I have passed through rebellion several in this place. Are you with me now? None of them have shifted me. None. None. It is like just plucking a leaf out of a mighty tree. You understand me? It is approach to it. Because if somebody, I know that humanly, you raise somebody, you plan over somebody, you put your life into a person, with the intention that in 2 years' time or in 1 year's time, I will leave this for the person so that I can spread out. Okay? And you trust the person with everything. And then the person suddenly say that God is telling you to move on, which you know God didn't. I have cases whereby the person came to me and said that God told him to move on. I begged him that, please, don't destroy yourself. I asked him, how did God speak to you? The last one that left me. I said, how did God speak to you? And he said, I felt in my spirit. I said, which spirit? Which of the spirits? I said, when I came to you that God spoke to me, I said, Jesus appeared to me. If Jesus didn't appear to you, did you see an angel in your dream? Did you see an open vision? I told you, everything I did in CFT was through open vision, not through my feeling. The building we started the church, I saw open vision. I told people, this Sunday, meet me there at 3. At 2, they came. It was so. You give me what the God who spoke to you. Tell me how it has happened to you. I saw that Satan was trying to destroy him, and I lobbied so much to stop him. But he had made up his mind. I told him that, look, if you remain with me, you will only cost me money. Okay? It means that I will take liability of finance over you. If you want to start a branch, then start it, let it be a branch of this place. And I brought him myself. The letter of appreciation he wrote me the day I brought him, I found it this last month. 20-something years ago, I brought him. Applied for him from Nigeria to be a minister, paid all what is necessary for the immigration, and they gave him visa as a minister from Nigeria. All right, are you with me now? Which is, people who are here looking for visa, they couldn't get visa. Having done all that, he wrote a letter to me, and that letter, after he left, last month, I found it. Letter of 20-something years ago. So, and I was planning to install him over New Cross. New Cross now we are building, by the grace of God, 19 stories in it. It's going to be pulled down, we build my magnificent building. And I told another pastor in this church that this is my plan for you and for this man. But for 2 years I couldn't utter to him. God didn't permit it. Because man looks at the face, God looks at the heart. Okay? All right. So, suddenly when he came to me that God told you to move on, I told him that, how did he tell you? And he's mumbling himself. I said, you are lying to go against God. Don't go, I beg you. He said, no, you go. God didn't speak until the second day to me. He said, okay, he will stay till another 6 months before he goes. I said, okay. Normally, I don't say okay to that. Because if anybody comes to me and says, God said I should move on, as you are leaving my side and you are going, I'll tell you, don't come back. That's the end of it. Because if God told you to move on, what are you waiting for? That is the obedience. That's the way. But for him, I was pleading because I have so much plan for him. You know? And when I went home, the Lord met with me in the night and said to him that somebody said, I said he should move on. Why did you tell him to stay? Lord, I'm sorry. He's my son. I don't want him to be destroyed. I know he's moving on to nothing. And the Lord said to me, tomorrow will be his last day. Lord, how do we do this now? The Lord said I should put him in program with other leaders to pray so that will be his last ministration. And thereafter I should call the leaders and tell them what he told me yesterday and bid him farewell. Somebody said he had from God who said I did not speak. So you think he didn't pain me? I never addressed it on my pulpit. Adaptive capacity. I prayed for him. Bye. Even I heard that there are some of the members in the church, among them was leader, they have been holding prayer for months, which I didn't know. The people who knew about it now came to me, who are part of leadership. They have been holding their prayer for months now. This person is there. I said, okay, give me the address so that one day I will just go and pray with them. And they won't know that I'm coming. Fellowship with them, they won't know that. Let me tell you something. I'm talking about adaptive capacity. But haven't he gone? Do I hate him? No. Is he not my son? No. My dinner, I invited them for dinner. Okay? Abi? East or west? Home is best. I'm talking about adaptive capacity. Look, if Satan got somebody under you, the greatest mistake you can do is to be a victim to. At least he got one person. The other person must not fall a victim so that it's now nobody can intercede for anybody. If one is gone, you can intercede for him. If you two you are gone, who intercede for both of you? You must build thick skin. That's adaptive capacity. Whatever, if he comes back in some years and said he has come back, I will receive him, the prodigal son, and celebrate him, but the portion I have given to somebody else. That's the prodigal son. Prodigal son came back. They celebrate him, but you can't give him also the level of power that he gave him before, because that person is susceptible to deception of Lucifer. Are you together in a minute? So that is just using proper intuition. So the final thing is, number 3, is a leader must set example. A leader must set example. So this is 11:16. We're finishing at 11:25. Now, for the rest of the time, let me just take you through. Having known a little bit about leadership, let me run you through different styles of leadership and different types of leadership. Usually last year, I started by looking at that. This is what scholars have expressed, and I agree with it from the scriptural point of view. There are 3 levels of leadership. One is called micro level, micro, M-I-C-R-O, and that's the leadership of one person. That's personal leadership. Like a father is the head of his family, and father and mother are heads of their family. Father teach, father instruct, mother teach. Micro level. That's personal level of leadership. The second one is meso level of leadership, M-E-S-O. And that is leadership at a team. And you can have that like ushers, like protocols, like, all the departments in church, home group leaders. That is meso, M-E-S-O. And the third level of leadership you will find is the macro, which is M-A-C-R-O. And that is a systemic or organizational or global. And that could be likened to a resident pastor, an area pastor, a regional pastor, or a national pastor, or an international overseer. Macro. These are the major levels of leadership you'll find in any industry. However, from investigation of human leadership, there are 7 areas of functionary leadership or types of leadership that have been discovered. The first one, everybody will resonate with everybody, and that is what they call the great man's theory. Leadership that came out of heroes. Great man's theory. You can look at Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 to 5, and 1 Samuel 17, 1 to 55. You can look at the heroes of the old from Adam. You can look at the heroes of the old from Moses, heroes of the old from Nimrod, heroes of the old from, the time of the prophets, so that it is only one man that comes out, everybody follow. Deborah and all the rest of them. They are heroic leadership. But something astonishing with heroic leadership, up to our time, people like Hitler, out of Hitler, I would say that people like African presidents, they democratically elect them, but they become heroes. Yes. And it has to do also with many ministers. Many ministers, what happened to them is that when the hero dies, the vision dies. That is the problem with heroic leadership. When heroes die, the vision dies. So if you look at all the heroes, the kings of Israel, the president of Africa, that's the reason why there's no continuity and no development in those nations. So if you are a pastor, but you play heroic leadership, you can be guaranteed that the day you are taken out of that place, that church will die. Okay? So we discover that it is a bad example of leadership. While some of the traits of a hero is necessary for constructive leadership, however, heroic leadership is not appropriate in this generation. Second one is trait theory. The trait theory is the theory that looks at your background, your personal abilities, and social characteristics. It looks at your background, your personal abilities, and your social characteristics. This theory is always used by churches because we take people and appoint them maybe because of their background. Oh, he has done it before in another place, so we put him there. And some companies use that as well. Or maybe because they have some personal qualities that we can see. Or maybe they have some social characteristics. You see, the word trait means distinguishing qualities or characters. That is an exemplary qualities. If you look at this was used in the Bible. Acts chapter 1, verse 20 to 25, you will see that in the election, Acts chapter 1, 20 to 25, you will see it in the election of Matthias. When Peter stood up and said that the office of Satan must be taken, Judas must be replaced. Judas must be replaced, almost the same thing, must be replaced. So you can see that is trait theory. They said, choose among us somebody who has been with us from beginning. That is trait theory. It is a good approach, but not perfect approach. If you look at the book of Acts chapter 6, verses 1 to 6, it talks about the election of deacons. I say, appoint among yourself men full of spirit and wisdom. So those are the traits. All right? Then in the 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 to 13, you can see the traits that elders and deacons should have. An elder should be a man of but one wife, temperate and all stuff like that. I can see that temperate, self-control, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, then not given to drunkenness, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. If you look at this, then he said he must manage his own home well. I want to tick all your leaders, all the boxes. You see that none of them tick all the boxes. No. That is trait theory. Why they may tick some boxes, they are still working on some boxes. Because human development is a progressive steps. And the New Testament theology helps us to know that people are not saved because they are perfect. They are saved because they are not perfect. They are saved because they are helpless. They are saved because they are sinners. And we have looked at it yesterday when we were looking at here Impact Leadership, that the duty of the church, which is the minister, is to teach the saints. The duty of the saints is to study to show themselves approved workmen. Do we get it now? So, if we look at trait theory, why it is a good thing to apply as a standard. However, you cannot be rigid because traits may be deceptive sometimes. And that is the issue of the question that minister asked, that some people who he appointed as elders, they were very good, committed and all stuff. The moment they appointed as elders, one of them began to play truancy, he won't come to prayer and all stuff. Before you know it, 2 other or 3 others joined them. And of course, I'm sure that the church that they are talking about will be a small church. That's the reason why it has so much effect. Do we get it now? And that is very challenging to the minister who is working tirelessly to help the people to achieve the common goal. So, trait theory, therefore, may not be the perfect theory. The third theory is behavioral theory. Behavioral theory talk about it believes in the sense that leaders are born, and it believes also that He believes that leaders are not born, but they are made. Because the trait theory is that they have that trait from birth. But the behavioral theory believes that no, you can train everybody to be leader. That is a good idea. And Jesus did it and succeeded. It focuses on actions that define a leader. That is the trait theory, the behavioral theory, sorry. They believe that certain behaviors and actions shape individuals into effective leadership. Certain behavior and actions shape individuals into effective. If you look at this, it's very similar to mentoring people. You are making them what they are really not, by creating some behaviors into them and helping them with patience until they can become. And this theory concludes that anyone can be a leader just by adjusting their behavior. And that is what we believe in everybody. We believe in everybody. There is a leadership in everybody. But let me tell you, in the real context, is that so? No. There are some people, no matter how you train them, they can't function. So it's not a perfect theory. Then there is a fourth one called contingency theory. Contingency theory believes that there is no single best way to leadership. It believes that the context defines the style of leadership. In other words, someone can be a leader of the church, put him in a shop there to sell, he will fail. Someone can be the CEO of Parmalat or CEO of HSBC, but take him to the government office to run it, he will fail. Because it's a different context. So that theory believes that the context that arises is what determines the style of leadership. But let me say this to you. I agree, this is my opinion, I agree to an extent with that theory, especially because if you look at our leadership operations in our days in the past 15 years, this is 30 years of CFT. We started this church with a combo and one machine that is having transistor, a mixer that is analog, but suddenly the mixing console changed into digital and analog, digital, analog. Now they face that analog, now digital. Now what we bought last week now is a beast. It's not just digital. It is a complicated, confusing digital, but they said it's the easiest. Are you with me now? Look at in those days when we started churches in England, I think, those of you, I can talk about the Church of God from 60s, okay? In the 60s, late 60s, let me give you a scenario of Nigeria. There's only one song we sing, only Jesus can save, only Jesus can save. We don't have many songs, praise and worship, and people will come and give their life to Christ. And we can sing that song for a whole 1 hour, and the whole place will turn into rubbles. Now, if you look at, in those days, you may do crusade, you don't need leaflets, and people will come. And if you print leaflets, it's just for awareness, but leaflet will bring people to come. But in these days, leaflet don't bring anybody to come. They would look at the leaflet, they drop it. Or they will keep it in their house until trouble will come. Then they will say, where is that leaflet? Where is that church? And they go. So, but if you look at today now, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, anything, as I'm speaking now, they are watching me live. Yesterday, somebody called from UAE, who was watching the program live from UAE. This is London, and they're watching from UAE. And another country, somebody wrote a question, in the seminar. And they are watching in the US, they are watching in China, regardless of the coronavirus, they are watching. So, if as a leader, we cannot catch up with the context, then our leadership approach of old will fail. One of the key things about high impact leader is the ability to adapt, adaptive capacity. That means that any development that comes into your field, you will update yourself and upgrade yourself. Somebody said, one of the guys in Nigeria, he said that Satan introduced iPad. How can Bible be iPad? That you need paper to open like this. And I said that it is naive. Such a person did not even go to Bible school at all. Because if he went to Bible school, he would have read about what they call canonization of the Bible. You know, people don't understand that if you didn't go to Bible school before you became a pastor, you better go and read what they read in Bible school. Because you need it. You need theology, you need knowledge. Or else you'll be misinterpreting the Bible all the time. The Bible didn't come in paper. It was written first on parchment. Scrolls. They stick them together and they write it. And they put it in 2 handles and they roll it up. Jesus didn't read paper. He read from the scroll. So it will be strange if Jesus will say today that, no, all this paper you are reading is not so, it has to be a scroll or a Jew. That would be naive. That guy does not have adaptive capacity. He's not a high impact leader. He'll be teaching his church what he's saying. And his church people will believe it. And so they'll be backward until they cannot learn anymore. Because after this iPad, another thing is coming. And if you don't know iPad, you cannot know that. Who is giving the idea? I have some Christians also in Nigeria. They said that all these things are from Mami Water. I said, Mami Water did it. Papi Water used it. Mami Water did it. Papi Water used it. Did we not read yesterday from Hebrew chapter 1 verse 14 that are not all angels ministering spirits? Whether they are demons or they are standing, they are ministering spirits sent to serve us. So if demons invent a car, born again will ride it. That knowledge came from God to him. Demons don't have head. They don't have knowledge. Nothing have knowledge except the one. You know, so there are some rascality that we enter into, and because we are naive. And people who don't want to improve themselves, they will just try to discourage other people and be saying that this one is a demon, that is a demon. I don't care if it's a demon, you know. Somebody had challenged me before on deliverance, and I told the person that, look, if they cast that demon from you, and the demon says, I'm not going, leave the demon alone. When you are rapturing, carry the demon and take him to Jesus Christ. We're going to stop here now, because we have gone into our break time. And I'll give you 5 minutes. We'll continue from there. Number 4, let us go out and ease ourselves and stretch your legs and all stuff like that. We welcome Pastor Kola Wosho into our midst. Please, you can just stretch your legs for 5-10 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll carry on from contingency theory, and we'll finish the area of high impact leadership. The Lord strengthen and bless you.